uh, respected chairman, co-chairman, and the reporter, and my ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity for me to talk about the IVF in cattle, and also we will tell about what has been done in buffaloes. To quickly tell about the my presentation, that I'll be talking on these various lines, and just to save time, I'll go to the next slide only straight away. But before I really start my presentation, I must tell the audience, I have been working all my life, right from 1975, when Dr. Madan has seen me probably for the first time, till 31st October 2021, all 46 years with Raymond and JK Trust, all along only with embryos and embryos. So throughout my life, I've been working on embryos, first for about sheep for about 10 years, then for cattle, MOAT for 17 years, and for the last 6 years with the IVF. So I dream embryos, nothing more than that. So as you know, there are 4 different ways of breeding. One is this natural breeding. I need not tell you the details. Second one is artificial insemination. Whole audience knows about it. Third is MOAT, which is really costly and involves the whole reproductive tract of the cow. But when we go to IVF, we don't touch the reproductive tract. We are just interested in the both side ovaries only. And it's also a costly, but it's a most advanced breeding technique. And you will see what sort of effect you can get it through IVF. And that's going to be a tool for the country in future. Now, I don't want to go into the history, but 81 was the first calf born, and then we had 86 protocol and 88. Now, use of IVF in cattle. Please see this dysfunctional reproductive anatomy. The animal having that, it's okay, fine with the IVF. No response to the gonadal trophy. We can use it as a good donor. Females that stimulate but do not fertilize. Sick or injured female. Young heifers, prepubertal heifers. We have produced embryos from about 9-month-old heifers before they got into their own pregnancy. Then repeat oocyte collections to increase the embryos. Multiple times you can do. Harvest extra ova from the pregnant females. We can do it right up to 3 months of pregnancy. Fertility evaluation on infertile female. More efficient utilization of the semen. If it is a very expensive semen, in IVF really it can be very well used. And sex sorted semen, which is a very expensive semen which we are using into our IVF process. Quickly the definitions. You all know what is in vitro, oocytes, unfertilized, ovulation, ovum, recipient. I think majority of you will know all these definitions. Capacitation and donor, embryo, and fetus. These are the terminology I'll be using it. But in context to the IVF now, we will be focusing on this step-by-step technology. One is OPU. We are doing, people call it as aspiration, OPU, ovum pickup. Then next step is, once we get oocyte, is the in vitro maturation, in vitro fertilization, in vitro culture. And that's leading to in vitro production of the embryos. These are some of the lab equipments. I'm showing some of the slides where I've been working. You know, the IVF lab, one of the best IVF lab, I can say, in the country, which is being there near Pune, which is of JK Trust. But I got some of their slides. No doubt I'm not no more with the JK Trust, but I had my whole attachment, and whole thing was completely done, initiated by me. So these are the benchtop incubator. On the left side, you see they are the ones same exactly used in human being for culturing of the embryos. And then we have a laminar airflow, carbon dioxide incubators and all that. This is the equipment for your oocyte aspiration and highly for the animals. Then let's go to the reproductive tract, a genital view, top view, then the side view. And this is the vaginal oocyte recovery, wherein you are doing it transvaginal oocyte recovery. Just changing my topic for a minute. Yesterday I was here as a national mentor to look at the work done at this lab. And I must say, excellent work done by Dr. Narendra and Gurjot, who is associated with him. And I saw the lab, spend a lot of time into the lab. In the 31 ET-IVF labs, which have been allotted by Government of India and Rashtriya Gokul Mission, there are 7 with the central cattle breeding farm. Nothing has been started yet over there. And then 8 are allotted to the universities. And Garhwal is one of the university, and leading work on the IVF is done by them. Let's give a hand to both of them. And this, I think it was all really ignited once our Vice Chancellor took over this university. Since then, really the IVF lamp has ignited here, and I'm sure looking at the facilities, it will grow further. And there are 9 livestock development board and state animal husbandry department to whom these funds have been given to the tune of about 4 to 5 crores by the central government. So 8 and 9, 17, there are 3 NGOs. So another 3, so 20. And there are 2 Kamadhenu breeding centers. There is one in the south and one into the Madhya Pradesh, wherein they are supposed to keep different indigenous breeds, but they have not started any work on the IVF. About 2, nothing is much known. One is at Mathura sanction, another is at Bareilly. And 7, I told you about the central cattle breeding farm. That's how it makes a total of 31. So this is a transvaginal oocyte recovery. I think those who are interested, they can always go and request Narendra. Yesterday, he did 4 OPU in front of me, a really expert hand. And without sort of any really training, he did that. And when I expressed this to our Vice Chancellor yesterday, I said, we can organize an international course here by inviting some even international experts on OPU. And he said, it's most welcome. I mean, we can organize this. Looking at the facilities they have here, I'm sure this university can initiate this with the help of union government, which I can convey the same to them. Now, this is a bovine ovary having a different follicles, different stages. You have a primary, secondary, tertiary follicles. That's what really matters to the IVF processes. Follicular wave, Dr. Madan has already told a lot about the estrus and the hormonal relation with that. Now, let's look at the stimulation protocol. So, in the stimulation protocol, for the Bos indicus breeds, which are our indigenous breeds, we don't need to stimulate. You absolutely don't need it. Without stimulation, they are a bumper producer of the oocytes, and you can produce a lot of embryos. It's only with the Holstein Friesian, Bos Taurus, and Jersey where you need to do stimulation. And with the stimulation also, we are using a particular protocol without CIDR or with CIDR. That's a controlled internal device which releases progesterone and progesterone. So most important thing is that what I wanted to tell is this posting period, from the last injection which we give of the foltropin, if we are doing stimulation, then if you do it on 3rd day, that's known as a posting period. If you give about 50 hours, you really get a good harvest of the oocytes. So these are the protocols. My presentation is there. Anyone who is interested, I will share that to them, and those details they can note it. It really works very well. This is all with the experience of last 6 years which we had. As I told you, ultimately what is more important in IVF, it doesn't matter as to how many oocytes you got. Farmer is not interested to know what is the number of oocytes you got. Ultimately, he is interested as to how many calves are born. We talk a lot in the theoretically, there's so many oocytes we got, so many embryos we got, so much of blastocyst percentage. The conversion of oocytes to the embryos is known as blastocyst percentage, which is very, very important and which depends on a lot of things, media and so many things. If you get 40% of your oocytes converting into embryo, it's really an ideal situation. So that's how we have to focus on that particular point. And then these are again, recipient synchronization protocol. A huge work has been done on the synchronization of the recipients. So we can try, different models are there, and enough literature is available. Originally it was a GPG protocol, then 2-prostaglandin protocol. Now putting some PMSG during the protocol, 300 to 400 IU, all these things. Ultimately, we have to see that the recipients are ready when our embryos are ready, and they should be matching with the whole thing. That's the whole objective. This is a buffalo protocol, and we got really excellent results of IVF in buffaloes. And this is, I'll give 1 minute for this. Recipient synchronization in plan when we make it with the buffalo. You start with the CIDR, you insert the CIDR and give a shot of estradiol benzoate, 2 milligram. Then you remove the CIDR on 9th day and you give ECG. ECG is nothing but the PMSG, which in Brazil, they are the number one as a product, which we also use it. Instrument prostaglandin 2 ml. And we apply the heat patches, that they are nowadays available so that you can judge the heat. And then you get on 11th day, your expected heat, and you give a shot of GnRH. And on 17th day, you do the embryo transfer. In case of cows, you do 1 day late. From the day of IVF, you do it on 7th day. In case of buffaloes, the embryos are advanced very fast, so you do it on 6th day. Now, these are the equipments. This is the right side is the aspiration, the ultrasound, which is the portable ultrasound. Excellent thing, but that's coming in the limitation. Yesterday, about 2 days back, I brought it to the notice of the Secretary of Animal Husbandry, Government of India, that this we need to really solve the problem. If you have to take up the IVF at the field level, this is becoming a bottleneck because of the rules and regulations, registration of ultrasound, movement of the ultrasound, and that is very, very important to all of us as a gynecologist. Now, this is the needle holder with the probe cover put in and with the needle inserted into it. OPO aspiration, this is the start of the technique. I still enjoy doing this OPO myself, irrespective of anything else, but it's really a great fun to do the OPO. And this is the oocyte aspiration. Excuse me, can you just help me there quickly? I want to show this is a 30-second video. See, these are the multiple follicles which are seeing it on the ovary. And see, once the needle it goes to the transvaginal fold. Is it working? I think sorry, all these things. We just uploaded it, but it didn't work. We are just showing the puncture these black follicles. No, every follicle will be representing a oocyte coming out of it. This is like I'm showing a picture of a follicle. Factors which are affecting this ultrasounded guide OPU, the cattle age and the breed or buffalo, whatever, the frequency and duration of the OPU, operator skill, and the size of the needle which you are using it. It also makes a difference whether it is 18 gauge or 20 gauge. Aspiration vacuum pressure also. Now, this is the 50 ml conical tube, which is when you're doing OPU, everything is completely through the ultrasound machine. It is linked, the tubing. So you get all the follicular fluid which you are aspirating it into this 50 ml tube. And then the nice small filter design. On the top, you keep it and you filter it. So the rest of the things will flow down and you will have oocytes. Never allow that filter to dry. And that's where you will have the oocytes. And then you have to check them. And this is the first step. That from this 50 ml tube, again, these are a lot of technical details, no need to get into it. So these are put for the in vitro maturation. All these media which are required for oocyte recovery or in vitro maturation or IVF or IVC, today we are dependent on import of it. There are companies that adds up all these costs. And even the consumables which are used into the IVF, they are also not manufactured in India. We have to import that. That adds another 30% duty on that. So that whole thing leads to almost costing about 20,000 rupees an IVF pregnancy. But it's worth, I'll tell you how it's worth. So these are the oocytes which are getting it, where we are collecting it down the top, A grade, B grade, C grade. More the number of cumulus cells around the oocyte, they are better one. The one which becomes, they don't have many cells, they become naked. So these are the immature oocytes, and then the mature oocytes after 22 to 24 hours. You are putting them into an incubator which has got a 5590 tri-gas cylinder, same benchtop incubator I told you. The 5% of the oxygen, 5% of the carbon dioxide, and 90% of the nitrogen tri-gas getting into that incubator. So the maturation, it becomes very puffy. You can see the oocytes after 24 hours. That's the time where you have to do the IVF. When you are doing IVF, please make sure that nobody comes into your lab. You and just yourself. Because absolutely you have to be very, very careful, everything done under laminar flow. Now this is the incubator, micro-Q incubator, you know. This is one is for vial and another is for the straws. Through these micro-Q incubators, we have flown oocytes across the country. I don't think hardly any airport is left where we have not taken the oocytes. Either collected the oocytes from the farmer or taken the embryos. We had a lot of problem initially with the security, but this has to go as a hand baggage. We always tell the air hostesses that we are carrying the passengers without any ticket in them, buying any ticket for them. So, next slide. Okay. Semen. The semen, a lot of processing has to be done